Hey everyone, welcome back to SHIVASTRA. In this video, we are going to read all blocks of BEGE 144, Understanding the Novel. Number 1 block, Introduction to Novel. Number 2, The Awakening. Number 3, Paraja. And number 4, Things Fall Apart. So let's begin without wasting your time. A novel is a relatively long work of narrative fiction, normally written in prose form and typically published as a book. The present English word for a long prose work of fiction derives from the Italian novella, meaning new, news, or short story, originally referring to something new. Novels include a wide variety of genre and style, such as romance, mystery, science fiction, historical fiction, and more. Today, the novel is considered one of the most popular and powerful forms of literary expression as it allows writers to explore characters, theme, emotion, and human experience in a great detail. Here, the story and the plot difference. Story refers to the raw sequence of events in a narrative arranged in a chronological order. It includes everything that happens from beginning to end, in order they naturally occurs. It is straightforward and linear progression. What happened? It tells us what happens. For example, the king died and then the queen died. It simply stated what happened in chronological order. Plot is the way these events are organized and presented to the audience, often manipulated by the author to create suspense, drama, or thematic depth. It can be nonlinear with flashback, twist, and foreshadowing. It shows how and why it happens. For example, the king died, then the queen died of grief. So this introduces causality, showing how one event leads to another. So here are some more example. Example number one, Cinderella for girls. A poor girl is treated badly by her stepmother and stepsisters. With magical help, she goes to a royal ball, loses her glass slipper, and later the prince finds her and marry her. It is a story. And plot. The way the story is arranged to create excitement, Cinderella struggles, the appearance of the fairy godmother, the tension when the clock strikes midnight, and the final suspense of whether the prince will find her. So basically, a murder mystery for boys. A person is murdered, a detective investigates, clues are found, and the murderer is caught. So the story may start after the murder happens, introducing clues slowly, misleading the audience with false suspect and creating a shocking twist at the end. So here are the types of novel. Picaresque novel, what it is. It is a story about a clever but poor hero called a Picaro who goes on adventure and survive by using his wits. So Picaro is a Spanish word, okay? And a style, often funny, full of tricks and show different side of society. Example, The Adventure of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. Huck is a young boy who runs away and has many adventures along the Mississippi River. Gothic novel. It is a dark, mysterious, and scary story often set in old castle and haunted place. It includes ghosts, secret, and strange events. For example, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. A scientist creates a monster which brings fear and tragedy. Number 3. Epistolary novel. It is a novel written in the form of letters, diary entries, or email. Readers see the story through the characters' personal writings. For example, Dracula by Bram Stoker, the story of vampire told through letters and journal entries. Number 4, psychological novel. So it is focused on the inner thoughts, emotion, and mental struggle of the character. It explores the mind more than the action. For example, Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky follows a man who commits a crime and suffers mentally afterward. Number 5, religious novel. It is based on faith, spiritual growth, or moral lesson. It often explores the struggle between the good and evil. It can be serious, inspiring, or moralistic. The Pilgrim Progress by John Bunyan. A journey that represents a Christian path to salvation is an example of this novel. Number sixth and the last novel is historical novel. So what it is? A story set in the past, often with real historical events or people mixed with fiction. So it shows life in a certain historical time period, for example, War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. It's set during the Napoleonic Wars. It mixes fictional character with the real historical events. Novel of incident. So basically, these all are short notes which is appear in the previous year question paper. So I I'm telling you this, okay? So, a novel of incident is a type of novel that focuses on the event and action rather than the deep thought or emotion of character. The story is driven by exciting, fast moving events such as adventures, mystery, or dramatic situation. The main goal is to entertain the reader with thrilling experience. Example of novel of incident include Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe, Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson, and The Three Musketeers by Alexander Dumas. These novels keep reader engaged with unexpected twists, danger, and exciting journeys. Novel of Manners. A novel of manner is a story that focuses on the custom, tradition, and social behavior of a particular time and place. It often highlights how people interact in society, especially in matter of class, relationship, and etiquette. This novel may also criticize or satirize social norms. Examples of this novel are Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, The Age of Innocence by Edith Wharton, Vanity Fair by William Makepeace Thackeray. So these books help readers understand the social rule and expectation of different historical periods. Third world novels. Third world novels are books written by authors from developing countries, often focusing on themes like colonialism, poverty, struggle, cultural identity, and the social injustice. These novels highlight the challenges faced by people in Africa, Asia, Latin America, and other regions, historically affected by imperialism and economic struggle. Examples of third world novels include Third Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe, which is a Nigerian poet about the impact of colonialism on African tradition, and 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, Colombia, a story of a family and the struggle in a changing society. Midnight Children by Salman Rushdie in India, about India's transition from British rule to independence. So these kind of novels give a voice to the people of the third world and help reduce understand their history, culture, and struggle. So let's talk about the first person narrative mode. The first person narrative mode is a way of telling a story where the narrator is a character in the story and uses I or we to describe event. The reader experiences the story through the narrator perspective, including their thoughts, feelings, and personal experiences. So here are some features: personal and intimate, limited perspective, and subjective. For example, The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger, To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee, The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Okay, now let's talk about the third person narrative mode. The third person narrative mode is a way of telling a story where the narrator is not the character in the story and uses he, she, they, or character name to describe events. So this allows for a broader view of the story as the narrator can describe multiple character and event happening in the different places. Features of the third person narrative: third person omniscient, and the third person limited, third person objective. For example, for the features of third person narrative, okay, these are the types of the third person narrative, okay, and these are the features: more flexible, broader storytelling, less personal than first thought. And these are examples you can write anyway, okay. Basically, first person narrative mode uses I or we, it means autobiography, and third person means he, she, they, or a character name, so it is called a biography, okay. You can remember it by this. Let's talk about the idea and theme difference. So the idea of a novel is the main topic or subject that the story talk about. It can usually be said in just one or two words like love, freedom, revenge, culture, power. It tells us what the story is about on the surface. For example, in The Awakening by Kate Chopin, the idea is freedom or the self-discovery. In Things Fall Apart by Chino Achebe, the idea is culture, conflict, or colonialism. So, theme is the deeper message or lesson the writer wants to share. It shows what the author is saying about the idea. The theme is more detailed and can be full sentence or statement. It explains the author viewpoint or message. For example, in The Awakening, the theme is a woman's desire for freedom can clash with society's expectation, leading to struggle and isolation. In Things Fall Apart, the theme is when colonialism enters a traditional society, it can break people's identity and destroy their way of life. Let's talk about the postmodern novel and post-colonial novel. Postmodern novel is a story written after World War II that break traditional rules of storytelling. It often plays with time, mixes truth with imagination, and show how confusing life can be. The story may feel strange, funny, or even a little weird. Features are unreliable narrator, mix of real and unreal, fragmented or jumping story, question big ideas or truth. For example, Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut mixes war, time travel, and humor in a strange but meaningful way. Sorry. Post-colonial novel. A post-colonial novel is a story written after a country become free from foreign colonial rule. It talks about how people try to find their identity, fix broken culture, and deal with the pain of being ruled. Features are effective colonialism, cultural loss and recovery, struggle for identity and freedom, voices of local and native people. For example, Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe show how African culture was damaged by British rule. Diaspora. Diaspora means when people leave their home country and live in other parts of the world, often because of war, colonization, poverty, or to find other better opportunity. These people carry their culture, language, and feeling with them, and sometimes feel divided between the two places, their homeland and where they now live. Key points are movement of people from their native land, feeling of loss, identity struggle, and belonging, seen in a story about migration, memory, and culture. For example, Interpreter of Melodies by Jhumpa Lahiri, a story about Indian family living in America and their emotional journey. Caricature. A caricature is when a person trait are exaggerated to be funny or to make a point, often used to mock or criticize someone. In book, writer creates character with over-the-top behavior or habit to show their foolishness or flaws. Key points: overdone personality or appearance, used for humor or satire, often one dimensional, not realistic. For example, Mr. Colin in Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. He is too proud and talks too much, making him seem silly. Now, flat characters and round character. So, flat character is someone in a story who is very simple. They have just one or two traits and stay the same from beginning to end. They didn't change much. So, you can easily describe them in a few words like kind, rude, or greedy. These characters don't grow or change, and they are often used to support the main story. For example, Mr. Colin in A Pride and Prejudice, he is always proud and talks too much. Crabbe and Goyle in Harry Potter, they are always following Draco without much of their own personality. Round characters. What are round character? A round character is someone who feels real and complex. They have many sides to their personality, good and bad. These characters change and grow as the story moves forward. You get to know their thoughts, feeling, and struggle, and they feel more like a real person. For example, Elizabeth Bennet in A Pride and Prejudice, and Severus Snape in Harry Potter. Now, in short, you can say flat characters are simple, don't change, and support the story. Round characters are deep, change over time, and feel real. And most important literary trend in 19th century and 18th century. So first talk about the 19th century literary trend. The 19th century, it means 1800s, was an important period in literature marked by many new ideas, movement, and style. Writer focused on society, human emotion, nature, and reality. Here are the major literary trends of the 19th century. First one is Romanticism. Romanticism focused on feeling, imagination, dream, and the beauty of nature. It valued emotions over logic and often showed mystery, individual hero, and a deep connection with the natural world. Realism. Realism showed real life and real people. It talked about everyday problems like poverty and family issue. Writers tried to make their storybook look and sound true to life using simple, detailed description. Naturalism was like realism but more harsh and serious. It showed how people are shaped by their surroundings, society, or biology. It often focused on suffering, poverty, or bad condition, believing that people have less control over their fate. Victorian literature. This literature came during the Queen Victoria's time. It focused on moral, duty, and right or wrong behavior. It also showed changes in society such as women's role and struggle and became a time when novels were loved by many. Gothic literature were full of darkness, weird and strange things that like ghosts or mad characters. They created a feeling of mystery and horror with emotion and dramatic settings. Transcendentalism, America, this was about spiritual growth, nature, and self trust. It taught people to be independent and free thinker. Transcendentalism was against materialism, running after money or power, and focused on inner peace. Colonial and post-colonial literature. This type of writing showed how European rule affected other countries. It often talked about identity, struggle, loss of culture, and the fight for freedom after colonization. It gave voice to those who were once controlled or silenced. For example, Daffodil by William Wordsworth, Hard Time by Charles Dickens, Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. These are all kind of literary trend in 19th century. Now let's talk about the literary trend in 18th century. So the 18th century, it means 1700s, was an important time in literature. Writer focused on reason, logic, society, and moral. This period saw the growth of novel, essay, poetry, drama, and with many new ideas and styles. So below are the major literary trend of the 18th century. Number one, the age of enlightenment, a period where writers focused on reason, logic, and knowledge. They promoted education, questioned old belief, and supported human right and freedom. Number two, neoclassicism. A style inspired by ancient Greece and Rome, writers followed rules, believed in balance and order, and used literature to teach moral and criticize society through humor. Number three, the rise of novel. This was when novels became popular, writers began telling a story about real people, daily life, emotion, and social value, making literature more relatable. Number four, satire and social criticism. Writers use humor and sarcasm to point out problems in politics, religion, and society. The language was simple to read common reader and make them think. Number fifth, journalism and periodical writing. The growth of newspaper and magazine allowed writers to share thought on ethics, politics, and daily life. Articles were short, clear, and aimed to educate reader. Number six, comedy of manner. It means drama. A place that made fun of rich and their behavior. They were full of witty talk and focused on love, gossip, and marriage in high society. Number seven, pre romanticism. A shift toward emotion and nature, writer began to care more about feeling, the beauty of nature, and the personal heartfelt expression. So, for example, 18th century literary work are Gulliver Travel by Jonathan Swift, Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe. So, here we are done. Number block one, we are done. I hope you like it. Now, let's move on to the block two, which is the Awakening by Kate Chopin. So let's talk about the first introduction and then we will move to the overall summary. So The Awakening is a novel written by Kate Chopin in 1899. It tells the story of a woman named Adna Pontellier who lives in the New Orleans, USA. She is married and has two children. Her husband is a rich man and they seem to have a good life, but deep inside Adna feels unhappy. She does not feel free. She feels like her life only belongs to her husband and children, not to herself. She wants to do things that make her happy. She wants to live her own life, not just follow the rule that society has made for women. The story is about how she slowly starts to understand her feeling and want to live her life in her own way. So let's begin our overall summary. So part 1, the story begins Grand Isle vacation. Basically it is not in part, but I divided this in a part so that you can easily understand the summary. So the story starts in the late 1800s in Louisiana on Grand Isle, where people come from summer vacation. Anna Pontellier, the main character, is staying there with her husband Leonce Pontellier and their two young sons. Leonce is a wealthy businessman. He is kind but expects Adna to behave like a perfect wife, take care of the children, please him, and follow society's rule. But Adna starts to feel unhappy and lost inside. Adna and motherhood. So Adna is not like other women on the island. Her friend Adele Retignol is the best example of a mother woman. Very loving, soft, and always putting her children and husband first. Adna is not like Adele. She loves her children, but she wants to be free, not just a mother and wife. Adna meets Robert Lebrun. On the island, Adna becomes close to a young man named Robert Lebrun. Robert is charming and always spends time with one woman every summer. That summer, he chooses Adna. They laugh, talk, and go on walks together. Adna starts to feel love for Robert, something she has never felt with her husband. Robert feels the same, but he knows Adna is married, so he hides his feeling. The swimming scene, Adna's first awakening. So one night, Adna finally learns how to swim, and it becomes a turning point in her life. As she swims far into the sea by herself, she feels free, powerful, and alive, like she is her own person for the first time. This moment is the start for her awakening, a newer awareness of her own emotion and independence. Robert leaves for Mexico. Suddenly, Robert says he is leaving for Mexico for work. He says goodbye and goes, leaving Edna heartbroken. She misses him deeply. At the same time, she starts to feel distant from her husband and old life. Back to the city and changes again. Now, when summer ends, Edna and her family go back to New Orleans, but Edna has changed. She no longer follows rules blindly. She stopped visiting people out of duty. She ignored her husband's wishes. She begins drawing and painting again. She spent time with Mademoiselle Reese, a pianist who inspired her to be strong and true to health herself. Now, Robert's letter and secret love. Edna visits Mademoiselle Reese, the piano lady, and find out that Robert has been writing letters about her the whole time he was in Mexico. He gave the letters to Mademoiselle Reese because he couldn't send them directly to Edna. This shows that Robert still loved Edna and it filled her heart with hope. Edna moves to the peasant house. Edna now decides to move out of her husband's big house into a tiny house nearby. People call it a peasant house. This is a big step toward her freedom. She live alone, manage her own life, and feel happy painting and being independent. She threw a dinner party before moving out, showing she is free and proud of her choices. Affair with Elsie Arobin. During this time, Edna also became involved with a man named Elsie Arobin who flirts with her. She does not love him, but she allows him to kiss her. This shows that Edna is now acting on her own desire, not society's rule. Still, her heart belongs to Robert only. Adele gives birth reminder of motherhood. Adele, her friend, is about to have a baby. When Edna goes to hospital to help her, Adele tells Edna to think of her children. This reminds Edna that freedom comes with pain, especially for women who are mothers. Edna says she would give up her life for her children but not herself, meaning she won't give up her identity or freedom for anyone. Now Robert returns, but not for long. Later, Robert comes back to New Orleans. Edna is very happy to see him again, and they finally talk about their feelings. Robert says he still loves her, but he is scared of what people will say. He feels that they can't be together because she is married. One day, Edna leaves him alone to go see Adele. When she comes back, Robert has left a letter saying, I love you, goodbye, because I love you. This breaks Edna's heart again. The ending, Edna's final choice. Feeling lost and alone, Edna returns to Grand Isle, the place where her awakening began. She takes off her clothes and walks into the sea, slowly swimming farther and farther into the water. As she swims, she remembers her childhood, her children, her pain. She thinks about how society will never let her be truly free. This story ends with Edna disappearing into the sea, and it is understood that she dies by drowning, not just from sadness, but because she sees no other escape. Final thought of this story is a powerful story about a woman who tries to find freedom, love, and identity in a world that does not allow it. Edna's journey is emotional, beautiful, and painful. She awakens to her true self but cannot survive in a world that wants to control her. So, here are important questions, just read it, okay? Number one, examine the awakening from the psychoanalytical perspective. And number two, what role does the sea play in the awakening? Give suitable example from the text. This is the most important question which appeared many times in the previous question. Okay. Number three, are there any similarity between the Kate Chopin and the Edna Pontellier? So yes, there are many. So you can write it. And themes. So what are the themes? Freedom and independence, identity and self-discovery, love and desire, society versus the individual, motherhood versus womanhood, loneliness and isolation. Okay, so this is done. Now let's move on to the third block, which is Paraja, Gopinath Mohanty. Paraja is a famous novel written by Gopinath Mohanty in the Oriya language. It tells the story of a poor tribal man named Sukrujani and his family. They live in a small village and love their land and simple life. But greedy people and unfair rule destroy their peace. This novel shows how tribal people suffer because of poverty, injustice, and exploitation. It also shows their strength and love for nature. Overall summary of this, Sukrujani's simple dream. So Sukrujani was a simple and hard-working tribal man who loved his land more than anything. He lived in a small tribal language with his two sons, Mandya and Tikra, and his two daughters, Jilly and Billy. His dream was to clear a piece of forest land and settle there with his children. He wanted to live peacefully by growing crops and enjoying the fruit of his hard work. He approached the forest god to request permission to settle on the forest land. The forest god, however, was corrupt and greedy. Instead of helping him, the god saw a chance to trouble Sukru and take bribes from him. This became the beginning of Sukru's trouble. Now, trouble with the forest officer. The forest officer accused Sukru of illegally trying to settle on forest land. Sukru was fined heavily. As he had no money, he had to borrow from a local moneylender. This led him into a trap of debt. Sukru didn't understand much about money or the law, and he trusted people easily. He thought he would repay the money slowly through his farming, but soon he realized that the moneylender had cheated him and he had lost ownership of his land. This marked the start of his downfall. Losing land for a tribal family like Sukru is like losing everything: identity, pride, and livelihood. Bonded labor becoming Gothias. So, what is this? As they had no land to farm and no way to earn a living, Sukru and his son were forced to work as Gothias, bonded labor for the moneylender. This meant they had to work for the landlord or master without proper payment just to repay the loan, which never really ended. They worked from morning till night, but they were always treated badly like slaves. They could not leave or refuse the work because of the unpaid debt. Mandya and Tikra's struggle. Suguru's son, Mandya and Tikra, hated this life of slavery. They were angry and helpless. They wanted to be free and live with dignity. They started questioning the injustice they were facing. Slowly, the fire of rebellion started growing in their hearts. They tried to fight against the system, but because they were poor and uneducated, their anger led them into the trouble. They attacked the landlord house in frustration. For this, they were caught and sent to jail. Their attempt at freedom ended in punishment. Julie's painful story. So while the man in the family suffered physically, Julie, Sukru's elder daughter, suffered emotionally. She fell in love with the man, hoping for a better life, but he betrayed her and left her alone. This broke her completely. Julie's pain showed how even tribal women were not free from suffering. She had no support and was left alone to bear the shame and sadness. No justice for the poor. Through the story of Sukru and his family, the novels show how the poor and innocent are trapped in a system that always works against them. The first official, moneylender, and landlords all use their power to cheat and oppress the tribal people. Sukru never get committed a crime. All he wanted was to live a peaceful life on his land, but because he was poor and had no education or power, he was treated like a criminal. Even when Mandya and Tikra rebelled, the system saw them as a threat and punished them instead of understanding their pain. There was no one to help or support them. The law government and the society all turned their backs. The role of songs in Paraja. In Paraja, songs play a very special role in the lives of the tribal people. They are not just a form of entertainment but form a part of their daily life, emotion, and culture. The characters sing while walking in the field, during festival, or when they are sad. These songs are simple and full of feeling. Even when they face pain, loss, or slavery, they sing to stay strong. It shows how deeply they are connected to nature, tradition, and each other. Through songs, they express their hope, joys, heartbreak, and struggle, things they might not say in words. The song in Paraja reminds us that even in suffering, the tribal people hold on to their identity and spirit. The music becomes a voice of resistance, healing, and inner strength. The last part is a story of suffering but also strength. So despite all this suffering, the story is not just about sadness, it also shows the inner strength and dignity of the tribal people. Sukru and his family never begged. They worked hard. They loved their land and nature. Even when they were forced into slavery, they kept their humanity. This novel gives a strong message about how the traditional tribal way of life being destroyed by greed, modern laws, and unfair system. It is also a call to recognize the right of the tribal community and to protect their land and culture. Here's the conclusion in simple words. Paraja is the story of a poor tribal family dream to live freely and peacefully, and how that dream is shattered by powerful people who take advantage of their simplicity. It shows the injustice, pain, and helplessness of the tribe, but also their dignity, courage, and love for the grand. Gopinath Mohanty uses emotional and powerful writing to make readers feel their pain and understand the pain. Here are some important questions. The novel Paraja is about human existence. How is the theme of Paraja related to its plot? Comment on the economic plight of the traveler in Paraja. Significance of song in Paraja. Comment on the use of colloquialism in Paraja. Comment on the character sketch of a Sukru Jani. You can read it by your own and let's talk about the theme. Love for land, injustice and exploitation, bonded labor or slavery, loss and suffering, culture and song, rebellion and desire for freedom, simplicity versus corruption, human dignity versus strength. So let's move on to the next and last block, which is our Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. Things Fall Apart is a very famous novel written by Chinua Achebe, a Nigerian writer. It was published in 1958 and is known as one of the greatest books in African literature. The title of the book comes from a poem called The Second Coming by W.B. Yeats, where it says, "Things fall apart, the center cannot hold." This means that old traditions break when big changes happen. No Longer at Ease is the first sequel which is directly connected to this story. Achebe also wrote other novels that are not directly linked but are called spiritual successor because they talk about similar topic. In the story of Convo, a strong and respected man from Igbo tribe in Nigeria, the story shows how this life began to change when the British people, means colonialists, come to his land. They bring a new religion, new government, and a new way of life. The novel shows what life was like in a traditional African village before the British came. It also shows how people felt confused and hurt when their old custom clashed with the new rule and benefit. Through a conco of life, the story tells us how everything began to fall apart, not just for one man, but for the entire culture and way of living. Now let's talk about the overall summary of this. The novel tells the story of Okonkwo, a strong and proud man from a village called Umuofia in Nigeria. It shows how this life and the society slowly break apart when the white man, British colonizer, come with a new religion, Christianity, and new government. This story is divided into three parts. Let's discuss one by one. Part 1 is Okonkwo life and Igbo culture. The story begins by telling us about Okonkwo, the main character. He is a brave, hardworking man who became famous in his village after winning a big wrestling match. He wants to be strong and respected, unlike his father Yunoka, who was poor and lazy. Okonkwo hate weakness and work hard to become rich and powerful. Akonwo live in a village called Umuofia, which is a part of the Igbo tribe. The Igbo people have their own culture, religion, and tradition. They believe in God, spirits, and ancestor. They have many rules and customs. They believe in justice, and their leader solve problem in relationship, in meeting. They grow crops like yam, and man take care of the farm while women take care of the home. Okonwo has three wives and many children. He is respected but also very strict and angry. He beats his family if they don't listen. He especially wants his son to be strong like him. His oldest son, Noe, he is a quiet and gentle, which make Okonwo angry. Once during a conflict between the two villages, a boy named Ikemefuna is sent to Umefia to live with Okonwo family as a peace offering. Ikemefuna stay for 3 years and become like a son to a Congo, but then the village decides to kill the boy to avoid war. Even though he was told not to join, a Congo kill Ikemefuna himself just to show he is strong. This make Navoy very sad and slowly pushes him away from his father. Later, during a funeral, a Congo gun accidentally kills a boy. This is seen as a serious mistake. As punishment, he and his family must leave the village for 7 years. They go to Mavanta, his motherland village. His dreams of becoming a great leader are shattered. Now, part 2, the new religion comes. In Mamanta, while Okonkwo is living in exile, white missionaries come to the village. They preach a new religion, Christianity. They say the Igbo gods are false and only their God is real. Many people, especially the poor and the weak, are attracted to this new religion. To Okonkwo shock his own son, the boy joins the Christian. He even changes this name to Isaac. Okongo feels heartbroken and betrayed. He disowns the Navoy. He believes that the white man religion is ruining their culture and tradition. The missionaries build a crunch, a school, and a hospital. I'm so sorry, my words are I'm so sorry for this. They ask people to send their children to school so they can learn English and become powerful like the white man. Many people accept this, hoping for a better life. After 7 years, a convert returned to Umofia, but he is sad to see that things have changed. The village is not the same. The white men have set up a government, a court, and even a jail. They use African worker called courtma to punish people even for following their own culture. Okonjo wants to fight and get rid of the white man, but his people are divided and confused. Some have converted to Christianity and now support the white man. His friend Obieriga says the white man, has put a knife on the things that held us together. We have fallen apart. Okonjo feels helpless. Now, part 3, Resistance and Tragedy. A new missionary, Reverend Smith, replaced the kind Mr. Brown. Smith is strict and aggressive. He does not respect Igbo belief. One of his followers, Enoch, does something terrible. He removed the mask of an Egwuwu, a sacred spirit. This is a big insult. The villagers' elders become angry. The Egwuwu from all 9 villages come together and burn down the church. Okonwo feels happy because he thinks the people are ready to fight back. But the white district commissioner tricked the village leader. He invites 6 of them, including Okonwo, for a peaceful meeting but instead arrest and beat them. The villagers have to pay a big fine to 50 bag of cowries to get them released. A convoy is now full of danger. At a village meeting, messenger from the white man came to stop them. A convoy become furious and kill one of the messenger with his machete. But the villagers do nothing. No one support him. A convoy realizes that his people will not fight. They are afraid. He has lost everything: his son, his dream, his respect, and now even his village support. In the final chapter, the district commissioner comes to arrest Congo, but finds that he has hanged himself. In Igbo culture, suicide is a great sin, and no one is allowed to touch his body. His friends are sad. Obiedika, his close friends, say that man was one of the greatest men in Umufia. You drove him to kill himself. The commissioner, however, doesn't care. He just thinks Okonwo's story will make a good chapter in the book, but he's writing about the pacification of the primitive tribe of the Lower Niger. Here's the conclusion. It shows how African culture was destroyed by colonization. It shows how change, when forced, can break society apart. Okonjo was once a great man, but in the end he died alone, like a stranger. Achebe tells us that when people forget their root, their unity, and their strength, everything falls apart. Now let's discuss the theme: tradition versus change, masculinity and pride, colonization and effect, family and relationship, fear of weakness, religion and belief system, identity and laws, and justice and law, education and power. Now here are some main characters you can read: Okongo, Yunoka, Novoe, Ikemefuna, Izinma, Ikfefi, Obierika, Mr. Brown, Reverend Smith, the district commissioner. So here are some 4 more important questions. Comment on a man-woman relationship and the thing fall apart. So you can read it. Number 2, things fall apart is both specific and universal in character. So I explained it very simple words. Number 3, why does Achebe call himself an actor worshipper? So it is also easy. This chapter is very easy. Number 4 and last, how did the African mind come to be colonized? Give example from the thing fall apart. So okay, we are done now. The number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4 block are done. I hope you all like this video. If you like this video, then please do subscribe and share this video to all your friends so that they can revise the quick revision summary for tomorrow's exam of BEGE 144. So thank you very much for watching till the end. Take care and Har Har Mahadev.